Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Bill to do a roll call for the quorum purposes.
Okay, Abadili.
Present.
Foster.
Present.
Hearn, present. Kachulik.
Present.
And Lee and Sampu are not here, and then Tangney.
Present.
So you do have a quorum.
You might also introduce Ed and Kim.
Oh, sorry. Yes, and Administrator Ed Hoops. And Staff Member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
Excellent. We have a quorum. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and/or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 3 p.m. for the application of E.R. Mantini Construction, Town of Barnstable Recreation Division, Bertolotti Construction, Rajiv and Saruchi Lal, Janet and Freeland Abbott trustees, Owen McConville, Christine Cromer trustee, Alyssa Redler and Tyne trustee, Anna Solar Arabola, Michael Body, Richard Morse, Joseph Dugas. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. The plans and applications are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending an email request to Ed Hoops at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20. Please let the chair know if anyone is recording this hearing. Hearing none, this afternoon's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisements. Please send your check to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participation. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed by the governor on March 28, 2025, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. Or 2, real-time public comments can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 879-2845-0420, or use toll-free number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. The public can also email their comments to edwin.hoops@townofbarnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. We have a long agenda this afternoon. Please keep your comments within the State and Local Wetlands Protection Act's jurisdiction, and I'd like to remind everybody to mute your screen if you are not speaking. All right, first up on the agenda, revised items. Christopher Bushing, SE 35888. Is Dan here?
Craig Ferrari with Down Cape Engineering here.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep, so this is a continued item here. We have continued this because we submitted a certificate of compliance, and it was found that they added some propane tanks with a gravel base and a small generator. We've submitted a revised plan with additional mitigation plantings that account for those new areas. All the other construction on this site is complete. So we're just proposing to add a few mitigation plants, move the existing boulders that delineate the edge of mitigation to the new edge of mitigation here, and hopefully that wraps up this project. So I'll keep it brief at that, and happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners? Seeing none, we received the revised plan and date. So could I have a motion to approve the revised plan as requested?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Great. Okay. Number 2 was the Osterville Bridge 198 LLC SE3 6165. Arlene, I believe we received a request for a continuance. So do we need a motion now to continue this to 5/13?
You can either do it that way or you can table it to 5/13. It's your choice. You can table it. Go ahead and table
We
it
will
to 5/13.
table it to 5/13.
All right.
And we don't need a roll vote for that?
Nope, you're all good.
Excellent. While Away Realty Trust, SE3 6126. Sean Riley?
Good afternoon. For the record, Sean Riley with Time Bond, here representing the applicant for some changes within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. This is 150 and 100 foot buffer to a isolated wetland. Just to refresh your memory, there was a house within the 0 to 50 and 50 to 100 that was removed. The limit of work here is shown in orange. The site is active and under construction. All the buildings are in. We're proposing to add 2 garden buildings, hoop houses within the 50 to 100 and outside of the 50 to 100. We have a fully restored 0 to 50 foot buffer. We have changed the material of the loop driveway that goes around. We've shortened that up and changed that from pavement to gravel. We've added trench drains along that gravel driveway as well as along the outside of the 2 hoop houses, and added dry well for all of that drainage. We've added a landscape bin to be used for gardening materials, basically topsoil, sand, mulch, within the 50 to 100, and a proposed garden with a fence as well adjacent to the hoop houses. There's no additional vegetation or trees that need to be removed. All of this is within the current limit of work. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions? Comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Louise.
The fences that you have along the, where the hoop houses are, do you have clearance under there for travel of critters?
So the fence is only around the garden area. Let me just highlight that for you. This is the only fenced in area is this garden, and they're going to be growing vegetables, so they prefer that the animals go around that area.
And they can't get around it, so I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Any other comments by the commissioners? Do I have a motion to approve the revised plan?
So moved.
Second,
Roll.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
Assuming Pete's not here, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill. Thank you. We have one extension request today at 160 Peppercorn LLC, SE3 5769. Is Lauren here?
I am, yes.
You may want to note, Angela, this is the first request.
First request. Yep. Thank you for 3 years.
Yes. So we were recently approved for an amended order of conditions. So we'd like to request an extension in order to be able to complete that work and the 3-year monitoring reports that were written into the order.
Okay, we usually approve first requests, correct? So could I have a motion to approve this extension request for 3 years?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call?
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
Again, unanimous.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank
All
you.
right, moving on to RDAs. We have ER Mantini Construction. Remodel existing house, remove and replace existing sheetrock insulation, windows, trims, roof, sidewall, new plumbing, frame second floor porch, 8x7 addition on existing foundation at 4305 Route 6A Barnstable as shown on the assessor's map, 350 parcel 049. Is Eli Ramos here? Mantini Construction, any rep? They need to unmute themselves.
I'm not seeing him here.
You can probably close it.
Hello? Hello?
There's somebody's calling.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear
Yes.
us?
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Martinini, he's actually sick. So my name is Joe Batello from JB Designs. I drew the plans, and you got Mr. Fiore here that we can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, are there any questions or comments on this project?
I have a question for Ed, if I might. Ed, can you remind, there is some development in the 50 to 100 buffer, and there is no mitigation. It's very minor development, but I wondered, is there some rule that we're operating under whereby this is an RDA and there's no mitigation needed? Is it some de minimis rule or something? Can you clarify that, Ed, please?
Yeah, so they are, is this enlarging? Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So this is, there is a slight, the part of the building is actually in the 50. It's been there for probably 75 years at least. They are removing these sets of stairs right here, taking that out. The existing porch also is there currently, and it's not getting changed. They are adding the addition over here in the 50 to 100. So that is a standard, our standard guidelines say an RDA for something like that. They are putting the addition over existing hardscape that's there and just adding the steps again inside the 50 to 100. So
Okay,
5 times we usually go with the RDA.
I get it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from the commissioners or questions? Are there any public comments?
Seeing none.
Do I have a motion to issue a negative determination for this?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
Again, unanimous.
And Sampu abstains, he just came on.
Hi, Pete. Thank you.
At 3:14. Very good.
All right. Town of Barnstable Recreation Division to install Moby mats at Dowses Beach to improve accessibility to the beach at 348 East Bay Road, Osterville, as shown on Assessor's Map 163, parcel 013. Is John Gleason here?
Yes, I'm here. So yes, I'm coming to you today to seek permission to put down Moby mats at Dowses Beach. Last year, I had a member of the public who's also a member of the Disability Commission looking to increase access at our beaches. And last year, I got approved to put them down at C Street Beach. This year, I'm seeking permission to put them down at Dowses Beach, again, to allow people of all disabilities to gain better access to the beach. We do have surf chairs, but sometimes it can be very difficult to push people out onto the beach. So this mat will help get people out closer to the water to enjoy the beach for the season.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Seeing none. Are there any public comments?
Seeing none.
Do I have a motion to issue a negative determination for this?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Gagney,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
Kachulik,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Foster,
Aye.
and Abadili.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Thank you, Bill. Bartolotti Construction. Proposed septic system upgrade at 290 River Road, Marston Mills, as shown on Assessor's Map 060, parcel 005. Is Dan Ojala here?
Yes, speaking.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners, or afternoon, I guess, late afternoon. Dan Ojala, I'm a land surveyor and also a civil engineer with Downkeep Engineering in Yarmouth Port, and we're helping Bartolotti Construction out with Jane Small's septic upgrade. I'll share my screen so we can look at the big picture. Pretty straightforward, I think. When you are dealing with Title V and septic systems, they've got a rule called maximum feasible compliance, where you do just the best you can with what you've got. Here we've got a very good sized site, but it's got some challenges, some resource areas on it. There's to the east and west of the house, there's a pond and a BVW respectively. Located. We're up about 35 feet above sea level, but this is the middle pond drain. The big ponds up in the central northwestern part of the town drain down through this site, and there's a river where you can see the inner riparian and the outer riparian zones here to the, I believe it's the Marston's Mills River that runs through these bog systems and through the ponds as it heads south towards the ocean. So obviously we want to do the best we can with what we have here. You can see that it's a somewhat older system that's in failure. It's in the same general area as we are. We did remove it just a little bit further from the western wetland there. You've got 50 feet off that BVW. So we've snugged it over a little bit. We're utilizing a pressure dosing and lifting up the effluent to get it as a good distance above the groundwater, and you spread out that effluent. The highest groundwater that was observed was 30. It's some perched water, but we're a full 5 feet above that. And the bogs, you can see this bog down here. So the pond is about a foot lower. That's the general trend from northwest to southeast with the groundwater flow. So it would make sense then to be a little bit further from this pond than from the wetland, because the groundwater, the effluent plume would be heading more south towards the pond. So, but we've maintained the 50, which keeps us out of a variant situation with the state that fully meets the state. We're out of the rivers. It's exempt anyway as a straight upgrade, no increase in flow, doing basically the best we can with what we have by taking the effluent, running it through a filter, pump chamber, and lifting it up, a little bit of a retaining wall to get it elevated properly. But I think that this is a good system. Again, charcoal filter vent, and Bartolotti has been installing these for a great many years, very skilled installers, and we feel it'll be a good, successful system, much better than what's there now. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioners, any comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. Are there any public comments? Anybody? Do I have a motion to issue a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
I appreciate your time very much, and just for the owners watching, a negative determination is a positive thing, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
folks. Thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up, Dan. It took me a while to learn that too. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to the NOIs. Correct me, somebody, if I'm wrong. First one up, and I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's names. Rajiv and Suruchi Lal, to demolish existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling with all associated appurtenances at 353 Green Dunes Drive, Centerville, as shown on Assessor's Map 246, Parcel 156. John again?
Yes, good afternoon. John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I will pull up the plan for you all. Also in the meeting room with us is the property owner applicant. This project site is just over an acre of land in the Green Dunes neighborhood. Our wetland resources are land under ocean being Halls Creek. There's a salt marsh bordering that. And then we have coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. As was described, the project is to demolish the existing dwelling. It is shown on the screen now in the red outline for clarity, hopefully. And we are proposing to construct a new dwelling. It will be pulled landward approximately 6 feet. And where there's a garage located to the side of the existing dwelling, it's going to be pulled to the landward side of the dwelling, outside of the 50-foot buffer. The project results in a reduction in square footage in the 0 to 50 and a reduction in square footage in the 0 to 100. We do have a limit of work proposed around the existing development. We've called for the drainage to be contained. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Bill?
Yeah, the narrative says there's a 581-foot reduction in the 0 to 50. And your schematic there is very busy, as is the plan that I received. Show me where 581 square feet is being reduced in the 0 to 50. I had a hard time figuring that out.
So this is, if I can highlight in here, this is existing patio that is being removed. Sorry, where's the deck? It's existing patio and deck that's being removed. 50 foot comes all the way over here. So this is an existing shed that's being removed. There's existing retaining walls to the pool and along the dwelling that are being removed. I'm trying to track the 50 foot myself, but this is all existing building that's being removed. So it's all around the perimeter. There are areas that are being pulled out of the 50-foot buffer.
Thank you. That those little blue lines are helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Not seeing any, please yell out if I'm missing your hand. Are there any public comments on this?
Anyone in the DeVoe family have anything to say? We've got some butters here. No, guess not.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve this project with special conditions? Are we set to go with this the way it is?
So moved.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Okay, Abadili? Abadili? Well,
Is he muted? I can't tell.
I don't.
Go back to him.
Okay, how about Foster?
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachuluk?
Aye.
Sampu?
Aye.
Tangney?
Aye.
And did we have John Abadili show up? Is he not on here? Did he just?
He may have dropped out. I don't see him.
Dropped out.
He's not on the screen.
Okay, so we have 6. It passes.
Thank you, Bill. Up next is
Thank you.
Janet Freeland Abbott, trustees. To perform improvements to the existing trail, including the replacement of existing footbridges, removal and restoration of invasive and screening plantings at 55 Powder Hill Road, Barnstable, as shown on the assessor's map 300, parcel 050. John O'Day?
Good afternoon again. John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. Also here with us this afternoon is Rob DeMello, who has put together the invasive species plan, as well as the property owner. I will pull up this plan for you all. This project site is almost 1.5 acres of land on Powder Hill over in Barnstable. It's developed with a single family dwelling dating to the 80s. There is the wetland resources are, there's a bordering vegetated wetland located to the south and across the street, and there's an intermittent stream that traverses across the property. There's an existing sort of trail that meanders around the back portion of the lot. There was previously approved invasive species management and trail maintenance under an RDA in 2017. There was some discussions early on with the conservation staff about how best to handle future invasives work, and they felt like that this would be better today handled under a notice of intent, which is what has brought us forth this afternoon. So, and this is all, I think, pretty well detailed in the narrative and the report provided by DeMello, but the area around this southern footbridge is very heavily invaded, and so this, where we've sort of bubbled in with proposed plants, is an area where we're doing pretty extensive treatment, and I can zoom in a little bit more on that for you all. Yeah, it's not a large area, about 1,600 square feet. The remainder of the buffer zones is a more limited kind of control of treatment, hand treatment. We are just looking to continue to maintain the trails. We're looking to replace the little footbridge crossings. The one on the south side will stay the same length. Instead of having the steps down and a jog to the right, we are just straightening it out. The one to the north, we are proposing to make a little bit longer so that we're not walking down the embankment to where the stream is and back up the other side. There was some profiles of each of those provided. And then the other scope of work is a little bit of screening planting located along the driveway and to the rear of the property. I think that that's a short introduction to it, and myself or Rob or the property owner are here to fill in any additional information that you may need.
Thank you very much. Bill, do you have a question or a comment?
I do. It mentions that taking down hazardous trees, dead and quote hazardous trees within 10 feet of the trail. I was wondering, is that entire trail on the backside? And I wondered what the state of the quote hazardous trees are. And I think this project is fine, but in the past I've seen situations where people take out, like a pitch pine, a fairly good sized pitch pine, because it has some native, black turpentine beetles, and pitch pine and some trees, provide some wildlife habitat values, whether it be the cones that animals are eating the seeds, or as snags, woodpeckers, and whatnot. So I'm just, I wondered what the condition is of the trees that are being taken down, and how many, that kind of thing.
There is nothing really specific at this point, and we would have no objection to there being a condition that it be done in consultation with staff, on a tree by tree basis. We think that we're talking about stuff that was dead along the side of the trail, in hazard of falling over onto it on, people who were walking down it. We did not go through that whole back acre and try to identify any specific trees at this point. It's more of a blanket statement. And as I said, we're happy to have that be something that's in consultation with staff conditions.
I would appreciate that myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Pete, your hand is up.
Yep. And pardon for my dog in the background. I completely concur with Bill. In the past, we have a history that unless a dead or dying tree presents imminent hazard or likely hazard to a structure, that we keep it there for habitat reasons. I have plenty of dead trees around my house. I walk the property. Those trees are likely to come down in major storms when I'm not outside walking amongst my trees. So on a case-by-case basis, perhaps, but I am not supportive. As Bill said, they provide excellent habitat for a number of species, especially woodpeckers. We don't have enough dead trees out there to actually feed our population. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Oh, John?
Yes, thank you, Angela. I am in support of this thing as long as it requires the prior consultation of staff, as was suggested.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other commissioners? I'm not seeing any other hands.
Madam Chair, I just ask, John, are you going to need ongoing invasive control as one of the conditions?
I think we would appreciate that, yes.
Okay. So just if somebody would, when they make the motion, would make that designation as well.
Okay. Any other commissioners? Can I move on to public comments? Is there anybody in the public who has a comment about this?
Seeing none.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to approve the project with the special conditions for ongoing invasives and control, and in consultation with staff for tree removal. Does somebody want to make the motion if I'm not wording it correctly?
Sorry, I had a comment. Am I allowed to comment now?
Yes.
I thought I asked for the public.
Yes, now's the time. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So is what you're deciding right now, is this about taking down the dead and hazardous trees, or is this the whole proposal?
The whole proposal.
The whole proposal. Well, I would like to comment on the dead and hazardous trees. We're in a butter, and we see so much wildlife back there. I've seen a mother raccoon and her babies in some of those dead trees. And I agree totally that the area between our property and Janet's is just full of wildlife. We've we've captured on camera river otters, fisher cats, raccoons, possums, foxes. So I would really hate to see too much of that habitat taken down. So that's one comment. Are we having a discussion about the mitigation efforts by Rob DeMello for the herbicides that will be applied? Because that's part of this proposal, correct?
Yes. Ed, do you want to answer that as far as the ongoing invasives control and who's doing that, or is that something that John does?
That's actually, it's Rob DeMello is the landscape professional that's associated with this project. If he has any comments to say with that I would invite him to do so at this time, but we are considering this as part of the proposal.
Is he available? Is he here?
Rob, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on this?
We see him, but we don't. We see him, and he's not muted, but we don't hear him.
Oh.
John, you may want to comment then.
There was treatment proposed. It was specified as being herbicides that are safe for use in and around wetlands. Those would be a hand treatment. I think it's pretty standard practices in these types of projects. What do you call it? A drip swab method. So this is not a spraying. I think it's a very directed targeting the species that have been identified in the areas.
Can anybody hear me?
Can I?
Oh, we got voice now, Rob, I think.
I don't know what the problem was. Yeah, John just explained it pretty much how we do it. We don't do your traditional spraying. We swipe. We use, whether it's a sponge or a brush to treat the plants. Sometimes we'll cut them and dab them individually. So it's not a broadcast spraying at all.
Yeah. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I read the whole proposal and I understand what you said in the proposal about the application of herbicides. My one question is, well, my main question is protecting the water supply in that creek. And on page 27 of your proposal, item 6, you talk about the water supply. And I guess one of my main questions and concerns is, do you do any testing of the water in the creek after you apply these herbicides? And maybe, 6 months later or whatever time period is adequate. I guess I would think it's very important. I'd say the most important thing about this proposal to me is protecting the wildlife. And because we see so much of it all the time.
Well, I can tell you that you're not going to find anybody more adapted to wildlife on Cape more than me. So I will do anything I can to prevent anything from happening. You asked if we test the water. Mm-hmm. That's not logistic for us because I don't know what a neighbor's doing. I don't know what's coming downstream. I mean, so that's not really something that we can do. All I can do is do the measures for the project that we do on all our projects to protect wildlife. I can videotape it. You can come outside and watch us. That's your decision. But to ask me to test water that's coming from the road, from abutting neighbors, from who knows how many miles away, you can't put that on us. I mean, I hope
I
that
think
makes
that these materials that they use are approved for these sort of environments because they basically dissolve, I think, when they hit water is what,
they're
different.
made for aquatic use.
They're
What
made
we is made for aquatic use, so it doesn't hurt any wildlife. It doesn't hurt any of the aquatic life. The toads, the frogs, it won't hurt fish. It's made for that, so we can use it in a marsh. The biggest problem we have here on the Cape is Phragmites. It's huge. It's invading all the marshlands. When we're allowed, we treat those with the same chemical. So what we use is completely safe as long as it's used properly.
Right. I mean, would you consider doing, I understand what you're saying, that the source of the water is coming from off Janet's property.
Yeah.
Would you consider doing any before and after testing? Just as an
I can if that makes you happy, but that comes with an expense. I'll have to talk to Mrs. Abbott about that. But
Yeah. I don't think that's something that we usually put in place here. We are considering to address your other concerns, the dead tree removal and the ongoing invasives control in consultation with staff. And that's what we are controlling. Pete, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to concur with Mr. DeMello that actually, and again, I've got a background in environmental chemistry as well, that testing the water for approved pesticides in this environment is not going to provide any useful information. The care that the DeMello business utilizes in the application gives to me, a trained scientist, little to no concern as to aquatic or wildlife effects in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Are there any other comments or people who concerns
Yes,
need to be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
John.
I would suggest, Angela, as part of the motion, which is standard, is that if there's a change from DeMello, that has to be, staff has to be notified as one of the conditions.
Okay, excellent. Any chance you want to word this for me?
Ed, do you need monitoring or anything?
We don't need monitoring. We could also add the licensed applicator for herbicide treatment if you want to add that as a secondary condition.
Yeah, okay. So you have those conditions, plus the motion would also say that any tree removal must be staff approved beforehand, and that if there's any change in DeMello, that has to be notified to staff as well.
Second.
I just have one more question. On the proposal where it shows the screening plantings along the side of our border, Janet and I have talked quite a bit about not doing that screening planting. If this proposal gets approved the way it's drawn, does that mean that that screening hedge has to be done the way it's drawn? I mean,
no, actually, they have no. They don't. They would not be required if they choose not to do that part of the plan. They would just not do it, and they would be noted at the at time of the COC. So no, they do not have to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. The COC means after the project is complete, they have to file a request for an approval or a certificate of compliance. So, and the staff would go out and review it at that time.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, the owner
Repeat the motion, or can we just go right to the roll call vote?
You got a motion in a second.
So roll call. Thank you.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster. Is Louise still? Louise, you're muted. Hearn, aye.
Foster, aye.
And Kachulik.
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Owen McConville. Placement of timber walkway to the rear of an existing dwelling within 100 feet of an inland bank at 195 Crystal Lake Road, Osterville, as shown on Assessor's Map 139, parcel 055, SE3-6264. Scott?
Yep. Thank you, Angela. For the record, Scott Fanara with Grady Consulting, representing the applicant. We've submitted a notice of intent here just to replace that existing timber steps in the walkway. So the property is located on Crystal Lake Road. The current owners, Catherine and Owen McConville, bought the property a few years back. They've made some improvements to the site. They've been really mindful to place all the structures outside of that 100-foot wetland buffer. There's an existing dock out on Crystal Lake. And the pathway leading down to that dock, there's some timber steps, railroad ties, and they're just really deteriorated. It's just not really a safe path to get back down there. I'm not sure if anybody from the commission has been down to that site, but most of that is, I wouldn't really consider it to be a safe access way down there. So the proposal here is really just to remove those existing railroad ties and to install some new ones. You can see the limit of work is staked out there. There are a few mitigation plantings proposed. There's a very small increase in the coverage, and it's really just because the ties that were used before were relatively small. And we're putting in the standard ties here. A little bit of reconfiguration of the path, very, very minor, but with the work that's done, I don't know if you can see up in this corner here, there's a little gate that goes down from the dwelling down to the path. And just the proposed condition is a little bit different from the previous site. So we're proposing to just kind of straighten out this path, but again, just put in simple railroad ties. There'll be a silt sock along that perimeter of work. Yeah, be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Bill, your hand's up.
Yep, it is. And I'm wondering about the railroad ties and what they're treated with. Railroad ties used to be treated with creosote and whatnot. What are these treated with?
Yeah, that's a good question, Bill. I'm not sure I actually have an answer for you on that.
Oh, you don't know. So I guess I have a question for, I'm not sure who, John Abadili or Pete or Ed. Do we have any kind of restrictions on the use of, if you will, old railroad ties?
Yes. Ed, can you address that? Because we do not allow creosote anywhere anymore, Bill.
Yeah, so there would be no creosote. You do as routinely as parts of dock and pier projects, you required that there be no CCA treated material except for the larger structural components, anything that's greater than 3 inches, which this would be. So I guess they would technically be able to use that. And there are other means that you could do as well, like cedar or other materials, but yeah, definitely not creosote.
And so if you said CCA, it's a chrominated something or other.
Coppered something or other.
Copper.
Yeah,
that's okay, right? It could be treated with that.
As long as, yeah, because they're going to be bigger. The structures are greater than 3 inches. Those steps would be, they would typically be like, I assume what they were are they 4x4, Scott, that you're asking for, or bigger?
Yeah, bigger than that.
6x6?
They're 7x9.
Oh yeah, so that would be okay as well then.
And I don't know much about this, but I mean, are creosote dyes even like available? I mean, is this even an issue if?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think anybody uses it anymore.
I know in the sawmills when I was working, Bill, sawmills that they were forced to all stop CCA. Now, I don't know if that applies to everybody, but it did at the mills I worked at. So.
So here we got CCA in very large diameter, so it's okay. Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. Any other commissioners with a question or comment? Seeing none. Are there any public comments on this?
Seeing none.
All right, so could I have a motion to approve this project with special conditions?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Thank you,
Good.
Bill.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next, Christine Cromer, trustee, to construct a permanent above-ground plunge pool partially within the existing deck, mitigation plantings and all associated landscaping, grading, and utility work at 59 Bay Lane, Centerville, as shown on Assessor's Map 186, parcel 074-002, SE3 6267. Is it Robert from Bracken Engineering here?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert DeWar here with Bracken Engineering on behalf of Christine Cromer, the owner of 59 Bay Lane. We have a bit of an interesting project here to install a pool in the backyard here, but what's curious about it is that while they're using a plunge pool, the whole thing is actually going to be above ground and set on a foundation. Just to run through the parcel a little bit here. We're on the shore of the Bumps River here, and we have an associated BVW along with that. And then on top for other resource areas, we also have a AE elevation 13 flood zone that falls to an elevation 12 behind it. That runs through pretty much the house right here. And then also that elevation 12 carries through the lot. That line also acts as the limit of moderate wave action line as well. So basically the backyard all falls within the moderate wave action area, excuse me. So we do have the buffer zones from the BVW backing up the 50-foot here. Oops, excuse me. And then the 100-foot falls right behind the line. Falls through the house into the front right here. So again, we do have a proposal here to construct a 10-foot by 10-inch pool by 17-foot 3-inch, and it's going to be inset into the existing pier. Let me just zoom in a little bit, into the existing deck here. And it protrudes about 3 feet out. So with that 3 feet protrusion, we end up with about 55 square feet within this 100-foot buffer zone, mitigated at a 3-to-1 ratio. That gives us roughly 165 feet required. And then we have provided here about 202 square feet within this area. This is existing lawn here, and backing up to where the wetland flagging is for the associated BVW on this side of this wood boardwalk, kind of gets us closest to the resource areas to provide some mitigation buffers. So with that mitigation planting, there would be a split rail fence included as well, just to demarcate that. One item that needs to be addressed for this project is that since the application was submitted, when Ed went out on site to do a site walk, and I'm not sure if anybody else from the commission has walked the site as well, we were alerted that since our initial survey, the owner, who has owned this house since about 2020, recently had some landscaping company come in and basically top all of the brush that lies within this area. They treated it as if it was like a vista pruned situation. It looks like they cut everything down to about a 3 to 4 foot height. Along with that, they constructed an osprey nest down here. This was an updated plan based on Ed's comments and a revisit to that site by our survey crew to address this. We reached out to the owner and let her know that that can't happen without any kind of permit. To the best of our knowledge and research, there's no existing vista pruning corridor permit allowed here. As part of this order, that may need to be specified in there that no trimming of this can be allowed without without permission from the commission. So just wanted to bring that up just for clarity. But other than that, I think it's a pretty straightforward project. There's very limited disturbance to the backyard. They only need a small access path here just to carry a mini excavator in. That's mainly just to drive helical piles in, both to support the deck and the pool, as the deck will be interrupted here to allow the construction of the pool. Structurally, they'll be independent of each other. Yeah, that's about it. So with that, I'd like to open to the commission for any questions.
Thank you. Just for further clarification, we did receive the updated plan on Friday, the 11th, showing the demarcation of mitigation area and the location of the Osprey pole. Is that what you're showing us now?
The mitigation area was always there. We did add the split rail fence based on a conversation with Ed. The osprey nest and this hatched area here showing the area that was pruned or trimmed was added to that plan as well.
Okay, thank you. John.
Yeah, Angela, it'd be important to specify that in the motion, to specify the date of the revised plan for the record. Ed, could you comment on clearly this violation that occurred and what you think? Should it be handled separately in an enforcement order, or how do you think we should proceed?
Yeah, so I went out on my site visit here for this, and there was a pretty obvious cutting violation that had gone on. This type of vegetation that's there, it's like it's a very scrubby area. I don't know that there's anything else you can do about it at this point other than to stop cutting and allow the area to naturalize on its own again. I don't think there are any other issues that are associated with it. So I don't know that, given currently our staffing shortage, I don't know that we would necessarily need an enforcement order for this, as long as the homeowner is aware that they were not supposed to be doing that, they've committed to not doing that. I can back that up with a warning letter if you'd like, but I think that's all we need to do at this point.
I would suggest that if a motion is made to approve it, include the specific notation or condition on that issue, so that it's clearly on the record and in the registry of deeds.
Okay. Pete, your hands up.
Yeah, I'd agree with John on this, especially from a legal standpoint. I know he's my master on that, but we have here clearly a violation. If we're not going to go forward with an enforcement order, I don't want to be sending the message out to the general population that go ahead and do this ahead of time, and it'll probably be okay. I want, as John stated, something clearly on the record that we have an enforcement problem here, or we have actually a cutting problem here, a topping of vegetation. If the vegetation there will come back fairly quickly, i.e. it is not a terminal plant like a pine, but rather will sprout fairly quickly, then perhaps just allowing it to regrowth is the best. But again, I didn't visit the site, but if that topping affected the regrowth of that vegetation, then I would like someone to tell me that, don't worry about it, Pete, it's going to come back. And I definitely do want it on the record, the legal record, that this was not to happen again and had happened before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Bill?
Yeah, I'm just I'm thinking of you, Angela. Pete and John, you both suggest that it should be on the record. And yet here we have a permit for this work that they want to go forward. How literally do you get it on the record? We make a motion and we say we hereby approve blah, blah, blah. And
to include stop cutting vegetation in the 50-foot buffer. Is that what?
I mean, can you help us out, John? Literally, what is it that you're asking in order to get it on the record? I agree with Pete. Yeah, we should be doing that. But how do you, what's the wording here?
One option, Bill, that we might consider is a special finding, which would be a first vote before the total application vote, but about that, a special finding that the commission found that there was a violation by illegal cutting, and as part of the ongoing certificate or application, that would have to be left to grow back in a monitoring plan may be submitted, something like that. But a special finding that before we vote on the project, a special finding that we vote on that says the commission finds that there was a violation by cutting of the shrubs. That's one way to make sure it's on the record.
I think that's a good idea, John.
Thank you.
So can I say so moved and we vote on that, what you said?
Public comment, you got to go to public comment first.
Angela.
Yes. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, if I could pipe in. I think somebody brought up the point as to we don't know specifically know what type of vegetation was pruned back. Is there not any logic to, having someone inspect to see if it was deciduous versus conifer, et cetera, because that's all the different, that's the whole thing right there. If it's all deciduous, it's likely to grow back quick. If it's evergreen or conifer, not likely to.
Good point,
Ed,
Jeff.
I thought that Ed said that something, Jeff. Go back to Ed, because I thought Ed said something about that because he visited it. Did you, Ed?
Yes. So I was out there again. This was not trees that were cut. I mean, there were a couple of cedar trees that had been topped. They were smaller trees to begin with. I think there were only 2 that I saw out in the entire expanse there. If you would like, I could certainly. I would agree. You can go ahead and do the finding. I could certainly send in an enforcement order and ask them to replace a cedar tree or 2. But all of the rest of the vegetation that had been cut is shrubby. It's bayberry, some other types of shrubby material in there that certainly will get bushier now that it's been cut and the way they've been cutting it. But I think that's about all you can do. We can't. I would not advise doing a wholesale clear cut so you could replant with new native vegetation. That wouldn't make sense. But I agree. If you would do the finding, and if you'd like, it seems to me as though the commission would like a enforcement order, so I can write that enforcement order for next month. Again, there's nothing much more other than to maybe. I mean, again, I can ask them to plant 2 new cedar trees that would take the place of the 2 that were topped.
Okay,
I'm just proposing.
More comments, Pete?
Yeah.
Bill?
So, yeah, I think between Ed and Commissioner Abadili, we've got a good solution. Thank you both.
And Bill, your hand's up.
Oh, well, no, sorry.
So I just need help with what, I get we're going to public comment, but then how we're wording 2 different things here, right? A motion to approve the project is going to be one of them, and it's not enough to have special conditions to include stop cutting the vegetation in the 50. You want to do something in addition before that. Is that correct?
If I can, it's my thought, Angela, we frequently, and depending on the application, we will make a quote special finding. As such, that's a separate preliminary vote before voting on the project as a whole. So my suggestion would just to have it is that the commission, a motion that the commission find that there was an illegal cutting of vegetation, and the homeowner agrees to follow staff requirements on revegetation and regrowth. So I'd make that motion, and then we vote on that motion separately before voting on the application. But you need the public comment, obviously.
Got it. So any other comments from the commissioners? If we're good, I'm going to go to public comment. We're all set. So any public comment out there?
Seeing none.
All right. So John, can you restate that? Because it sounds
Yeah, I'd
like
make a motion. I'm sorry, Andy. I'd make a motion that the commission finds that there has been a violation, an illegal violation by cutting of vegetation within the protected zone, and that the owner will be required to follow staff recommendations for replant and or regrowth.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney.
Aye.
And
Okay.
now, Angela, you can have a motion on the application as such, you know.
Okay, so thank you, John and Bill. And then do I have a motion to approve the project with special conditions and the revised plan that was dated, I believe, what, 4/10? The one we received on 4/10/2025.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kachulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney.
Aye.
Okay, both are unanimous.
Thank you, team.
Thank you very much. Can
Angela,
I just ask one?
wanted to let you know that
Sorry.
we did receive the SE3 number for the next project. It just came in 5 minutes ago.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
It's SE3 6269.
All right, so
Can I
moving
just
right
ask one
along.
question before I take
Sure.
off here? All right, so with based on the special decision there, based on the Ed, are you going to be drafting an enforcement order on this, just so I can give the owner a heads up one way or the other, whether that's just acknowledged under this special
No, I
resolution
think
here, or if this can be.
from the discussion, the findings are good enough, and as long as they're willing to go ahead with that, I agree to what the findings was. I'll just issue a statement to you saying they need to plant 2 trees.
Perfect. That works great. I just wanted to give her a heads up one way or the other. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right, I think we're moving on to Alyssa Redler and Tyne, trustee. The project proposes the management of approximately 19,620 square feet of invasive plant management and restoration at 1694 Main Street, Katuitt, as shown on the assessor's map 017, parcel 017. And we did get that SE3 number 626. Thank you.
6269.
Yep.
269. Thank you very much. Stephen from Wilkinson, are you here?
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners and administrators. For the record, Stephen Lee for Wilkinson Ecological Design, representing the applicant at 1694 Main Street in Katuitt. I will share my screen now and do my best to just keep this brief. This is simply a invasive plant management in a bordering vegetated wetland, delineated with 2 hatches. The solid green hatch would just be our standard Phragmites management, which we're proposing to do with an initial cut and then a secondary bundle cut and wipe with a state listed approved herbicide by a licensed applicator. And then the second larger hatch, we are just asking to be permitted. While we were out there for the Phragmites, we did note some sporadic beginnings of Asiatic British wheat in that area, just that would be selectively hand treated as it's found, as well as just some aggressive areas of greenbrier. We know that is a native
vine, but can prove to be aggressive in certain scenarios. We are not proposing any revegetation of the Phragmites area. We do find following treatment that the carbohydrate reserves of the Phragmites provide a boost of native vegetation in the area, and we did observe cattails and bayberry kind of establishing on the northern end of this Phragmites patch that we think will vegetate nicely once the pressure of the Phragmites has been removed. And with that, I don't really think there's much more to say. I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, so commissioners, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have one. I don't know if I'm asking Ed this question or not, but I've never really, got into the ecological restoration limited project permitting like I did with this one. I was reading the regulations and whatnot. And I'm wondering about consultation with the natural heritage. When you get into the weeds, it's like part of it says, "Oh no, you don't have to," until you deal with Appendix A, and it's a 10-page whatever section, and it says that my interpretation of it is that you should be consulting with natural heritage. And so therefore, has Natural Heritage commented on this project? Ed, that's a question to you.
I'm sorry. We have not had anything, any comment back from Natural Heritage on any of this.
I was just thinking that from a seasonal standpoint, if there was some species that would be affected by people mucking around and doing work in there might be a seasonal restriction. And so therefore, is there not some need for it? I noticed that it says that, if you look at their Appendix A, it doesn't seem like they actually have got that clearance. And so does that mean that you need to wait for it?
Or do we request it?
They have not even requested it. They have not even requested Natural Heritage comment. It was not submitted to Natural Heritage.
So do they have to? It seemed, my reading of it was that it was required, and I was merely getting into it just out of curiosity. To me, an ecological restoration project is a wonderful thing, and they're doing good things, but I was wondering how you literally do permit it, and I'm left thinking that maybe the consultant can answer the question.
Hi, yes, I'm seeking confirmation right now. I know we've done limited ERNOIs prior, and I do believe that as part of the permitting process that it does get submitted to the Natural Heritage, which it's published, and I think comment is encouraged, or it's open for comment. How that comes back, I would seek verification. I don't have that at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So that's something that is missing and we can request and wait for, Ed?
That's what I think we usually do, don't we, John Abadili?
Yeah, usually a letter goes to them with the application, and we get either comments or, there's recommendations and conditions, or they say no comment. So the question that Bill's correctly asking is, has this already been filed with them?
I think they're looking it up. He's trying to get confirmation on something.
Yes, I think we saw that we weren't within NHESP here.
Okay.
So that we did not therefore do that.
Well, and then I guess they don't have to. I don't know enough about those regulations, Bill, to be honest with you, so I would defer to Ed's experience.
Just FYI, there's like I want to call it an 8-page Appendix A.
Yeah.
That gets into how, when you're dealing with an ecological restoration limited project, how you permit it, and it seemed like you needed to hear from them. And I know so often, we'll wait. We'll end up having to have a continuance.
Yes, we do.
And I was just left kind of confused.
Yes, just to confirm, we submitted to MIPA, but not Natural Heritage for this one.
Ed, do you feel that
yeah,
you should
yeah.
put this
No,
on a
I'm just-
continuance track pending a notification and response from them? Is that necessary, Ed, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm just reading through the regs again. So MIPA, you said you did notify MIPA. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I'd be happy to provide that verification.
Okay, so I think that's all they need to do for this particular type of
filing.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, I don't.
Okay.
I admit my ignorance in this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, thank you. It was a good discussion. And before we go on, I just want to, the special conditions for this are already going to be ongoing maintenance of invasives, correct?
Yes, please.
And change of contractor notification. Those are already the special conditions, yes?
That'd be great.
Okay, so my other question then would be the unpermitted path, the 4-foot width. Is this something that needs to be addressed? I need help with that issue.
Ed?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask the same question. There was enforcement activity back in January because the homeowner had caused her one of her landscapers to blow a big path straight through the area from the road down to Rushy Marsh Pond. She was told as part of the enforcement order to don't do that and to allow the area to regrow. And I'm just saying this is as far as I can tell. I'm just looking at the map again here just to see exactly where it was compared to what the plan says. Yes, I can't tell. It looks like it might be right on the edge, the northern edge of the treatment area.
Yes, just to speak to that, it's not, while not indicated on this plan, that area of cutting is approximately where I'm indicating right now.
Right. And are you seeking to keep that or permit that?
We're seeking to just, that's Phragmites on the right and the left. We'd anticipate Phragmites would repopulate that area. We would just seek to have it naturally vegetate with the Phragmites removal.
So it would not be maintaining the path then?
The path would not be maintained. I will say I think the client would like just foot access to walk to the edge of the pond.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, commissioners, but I think you either have to ask for a path and then put it on a plan, or if you're not gonna put it on a plan and let it grow back again, then there can't be a path. You need to make I think they just need to make a decision one way or the other.
So let me clarify. If they need a walking path, they need a revised plan showing the walking path.
If they want to keep it and maintain it, yes, I think they need to put that on a plan and show where the location of that path. But if they're going to, as Steve was saying, they were planning on letting that revegetate, and that's fine too. And then there's no need for a revised plan showing anything because the path is not going to be there. If they want a path, though, they're going to have to permit it one way or the other, either through this process right here as with a revised plan, or by filing a new plan or an amended order.
Well, thank you for that information. Just sharing that the client did intend to walk to the pond's edge. So I imagine she would like to establish or have that walking path. So I would like to offer to revise this plan to indicate that. And if there's no other further comment, that we'll do that and come back to the next hearing.
So, sorry, do we need that as a continuance or is just a revised plan for the next hearing, Ed or John?
I think in this, given that this was the circumstances of this path showing up when and how it did, I would prefer that it come back so that you can have one final look at it, just to make an approval rather than giving it to staff approval.
Okay, so, and how do we proceed that?
Well, if you don't have any other things to deal with, then you could just go ahead and do the offer a continuance, make a motion for a continuance to April 29th. And then coming back with a revised plan showing the location of the path.
Okay, and I still have to open up to public comments first, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then just as the last thing about that path, you need to make sure that it's only 4 feet wide. It can only be maintained at 4 feet.
Okay, so back to the commissioners. Are there any more questions or comments on from the commissioners for this project?
No.
Yell out if I'm not seeing a hand. Thank you. All right, so are there any public comments?
Seeing none.
All right, so do I make a motion for a continuance to 4/29?
Angela, before you take that, just for the record, again, I will not be, as I notified Ed and Tom, I will not be at the April 29th meeting. So that cuts his quorum down, which is fine. I mean, whatever, just for the record.
Okay, and isn't it the applicant that asked for the continuance? Is this something that they're requesting?
Applicant must agree or ask for the continuance and then file a continuance request with staff.
Okay, did I hear that?
Yes, we would like to file for a continuance.
Thank you. I'm just trying to cross all my T's here. All right.
Okay, and then Stephen, one last thing, Stephen, just make sure you file the Form WC with the office as well. Just fill that out and hand that in.
Sure,
so I
thank
make
you.
a motion to continue the matter to April 29th.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashuluk. Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Anna Solar Arabola, replacement of an existing wood landscape tie retaining wall with a new block wall at 114 Gosnold Street, Hyannis, as shown on the assessor's map 324 parcel 014 SE3 6263. Dan Ojala.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. For the record, Dan Ojala, I'm a surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping the owners here at 114 Gosnold Street out with a pretty straightforward repair of an old failing landscape timber wall. This is a couple of resource areas here. It's on one of the little fingers that comes in off of Lewis Bay. It's a low site, all in the flood zone. We've got a river. There's a BVW up against the wall. Paul Shea flagged it out. He's got his report in the documents. And as you can see, let me share my screen so you can see. Here is a picture of that. There's a small older house. There's a wall on the right-hand side. Here you're looking at a replacement wall. We staked out the back edge of the wall, so it seems like it's way back from where it was, but that'll be excavated out, and the wall will be pulled back about 6 inches from where it is now. So a little bit better than what's there now. The timbers will be safely removed to a licensed facility off-site, and a little bit of fill removed will be replaced by a nice inert cement blocks. So the detail for the blocks is in the lower left corner here. And in a couple places, it averages about 2.5 to 3 feet high. If you go over 30 inches, you technically, if you have a walkway within a couple feet, you should have a guard. But we would give them the alternative to put some brushy shrubs there. So I think we'll probably do some plantings along the top of the wall to keep anybody from tripping over the edge. And the back side of it, there's phragmites and a big wall of vegetation on the low side, but still, you don't want anybody to go over that inadvertently. The existing one has kind of a rope fence you'd see if you're out to the site. This one will have either a proper fence or shrubs to prevent anybody from going over the wall. Again, a bunch of resource areas, but it's existing lawn. You can see it's sagging down just a few inches and starting to fail. And that wood, I don't think, is doing anything any good. So we'll get some nice inert cement in there instead. Our narrative went over your performance standards and talked about the limited effects that this would have. No new real effects on anything because it's replacing an existing wall. The construction protocol talks about how we would construct it. And when you remove one of these wood walls, it tends to hold up pretty well. We just scalp it back a little bit more and insert the blocks. There's no reason on a short wall like this, if you used a full-size blocks with fiberglass pins, you don't need any geomat or anything behind it. So it's pretty limited excavation in the sandy soils and should go fairly quickly. There's, again, additional information, but for brevity, I'll leave it there and answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Seeing none.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If I could just ask, Dan, when I was on the site visit, I just noticed there was a little bit of yard waste that's been thrown out into the edge of the wetland there when you're getting ready to set up the silt fence and work limit line. Could you please have them remove that and don't dump anything else in there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I cringed a little when I saw that this afternoon. Yeah, we'll make sure that's removed and properly disposed of. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Do I have a motion to approve the project as is?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Paul.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Ahern, aye. Kashulik,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney.
Aye.
Yet another unanimous. We're on a streak.
Thank you, Bill. And moving right along, anybody need a break or can we keep going?
Keep going.
All right. Michael Body, proposed addition to an existing single-family dwelling as well as landscaping improvements at 22 Whidden Avenue, Hyannis, as shown on Assessor's Map 324, parcel 068, SE3 6265. Dan.
Yes. Good evening again, commissioners. For the record, Dan Ojala from Downloop Engineering, land surveyor and civil engineer, and helping out Michael and his partner with the improvements on 22 Whidden Ave in Hyannis. So I'll share my screen so we can look at the site. This is a very compact site. The structure doesn't really support going up, so the only a little bit more elbow room. The only real option is to go out just a little bit. It's a modest site. It's a modest home, and he just needs a little bit more room there. To the west side, what we're asking for is within the 50-foot buffer to the salt marsh, a small addition, but we would point out that we are pretty limited on the site with any improvement abilities. We're not closer than what's there now. There's existing patio that's 12.1 feet off. We're at about 17.1 with the stairs and 17.8 with the addition. We would need a waiver to work within the 50. And of course, your buffer zone regulations do contemplate under exceptional circumstances allowing this. I know we don't like to do it, but I think that the net positives of this really do outweigh the negatives. You're looking at a very extensive mitigation package where we're increasing about 355 square foot within the 50. You're getting over four times that of mitigation where there's an active lawn area. We'll come up the edge of the property, create a buffer, a nice healthy buffer along the back. There's a couple of, this is a steep section here. I don't know if my pointer is particularly robust, but you can see the northwest corner of the house. We're just introducing a few landscape timber steps there, non-creosote, and we will buffer up the rest of it. We're going to go ahead and put markers on there. I think Bill was out to the site and spoke with the owner. He wanted to make sure that we had the markers shown. So there's a town guidance document that's very well established that he will choose the exact markers, and we'll place them very close to make sure that that lawn doesn't creep back into being. It'll be a permanent situation where we'll have an additional 1,420 square foot of buffer area in lieu of an addition, which honestly is taking up lawn itself. You know, so you're trading some hardscape for a developed lawn area, which is not like we're taking down native trees for this. The neighbors a little bit got activity proud of this. You can see there's from the picture. This is the addition area here. It's fully manicured type lawn, so that'll be replaced with nice clear roof runoff, and we're picking up that dry well and putting it down into the sand with dry wells both in the front and the rear. Very small rear step and AC pad, but again, over 4 times that footprint of the clear water being discharged in instead of the lawn with the nutrients. Plus, you get the 1,420 square foot of mitigation, heavy mitigation with markers on the west side. So I know we don't like to do this, but I think in this case, it's a win-win. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Bill, you have your hand up?
I do. It's a rare project where I'm willing to go along with additional hardscape creep, if you will, in the 0 to 50. And the reason I'm doing that, for one thing, it's not a patio. It's not porch. It's not a swimming pool. It's a living addition for a really very modest house. And the lawn that they have right now, where the plantings are going to be, is on a hill. It's on a really sort of a steep lawn slope right on the edge of the marshy habitat. And it's a long, sinuous band, as you can see. And I talked to Mr. Body, and I said, you know, my problem is that people build stuff in the 0 to 50, and then eventually over 10 years, 20 years, the mitigation zone can be forgotten and mowed over or what have you. And I said, can we really have this really well marked, just either a little fence or I don't know what, but and he was totally open to that. And I thought, this is one of those situations where I do think that the mitigation would make up for that addition. So I hope that we can have that somehow extremely well marked. And I will tell you, it's a very sinuous, it looks like, you can see it looks like a snake. And I'm thinking that, I don't know if you put in a whole bunch of little, I don't know what do you call them, little rocks, little stones, or some kind of fence. But here's a question to Ed. How do we maintain a fence after 10 years? The fence rots and then what? It goes away. How is that why we would be using little, I don't know what you call them, ballast stones or whatever? But anyway, I would want it really well marked. And thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Ed, did you want to comment on the demarcations of the mitigation?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Are?
Yeah, you can certainly use the granite bollards that people put on one end. Fences can be, again, you can keep a fence there. Fences should be maintained. We put a special condition into the permits for any of this sort of thing that says the mitigation area must remain in perpetuity. And we can do this. We do the same thing along with those mitigation markers of the method of demarcation. So boulders, bollards, stone, cedar posts, whatever you want to put in, but those should be maintained along with that's part of the mitigation area, and they should be maintained.
Got it. Thank you. Pete?
Yeah, I just like to concur with Bill. This is a win-win.
Okay.
Unusual to have me say that also, but yeah, this is good. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm sorry, Bill, did I cut you off?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what is there a need, Ed, for some additional wording in any acceptance of this permit whereby they work with the conservation staff to identify a durable permanent marker or something? I mean, how do we do that?
Well, and Dan has it right now. He's showing it right now. It says it's being marked by wooden posts or rocks. So either one is fine. If they're going to be rocks, they have to be sizable rocks, like 18-inch diameter rocks. So they're more like boulders. But the wooden posts are fine as long as they stay about. You want to keep about 2 feet above grade so that they are visible. Same thing for fences or anything else. We do have a whole list on our website that shows the different types of. Yeah, there you go. You can see them right now. These are all the different types of methods that you can use to demarcate.
And these are posts that stand the test of time somehow. I mean.
Yeah, I mean rocks. You can't get an 18-inch boulder that's pretty permanent. You're not going to move that unless you have a bobcat or some large group of strong-backed individuals. But yeah, I mean anything can be moved. But we put in that special condition that says the mitigation area must be maintained in perpetuity, and the level or means of demarcation are all part of that mitigation area. So we would expect that those be maintained as well.
Okay, that's a condition. That's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other commissioners with comments or questions? Any public comment?
Seeing none.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the project with special conditions like a well-defined demarcation of mitigation area in perpetuity and the revised plan that was received on 4/10? How's that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kuchulik?
Aye.
Sampu?
Aye.
And Tangney?
Aye.
And they have it unanimous.
Great, thank you, Bill. Okay, as we roll into the last two NOIs, we're going to start with Richard Morse at 65 Sunset Lane. Proposed concrete access stairs down to the water. Barnstable on 65 Sunset Lane. Barnstable is shown on Assessor's Map 301, parcel 022, SE3 6260. Dan, and I just want to make a reminder, I'm not sure if this is the right time for it, that there have been numerous letters of support for both sets of the beach stairs, the next two things, and they've been received and entered into the record. So I just want to make note of that and then remind people when they do make comments to keep them as short as possible. So I guess, Dan?
Angela, excuse me if I may, a preliminary question to Dan. We're looking at two separate NOIs for basically the same project. And Dan, if you could explain that to me and everybody else, I guess that would help as a preliminary. Thank you, Angela, for
No,
allowing
thank
me
you,
to do that.
John. Thank you. Go ahead, Dan.
Sure. This is the result of a carefully negotiated settlement between Mr. Morse and Mr. Dugas and some other parties here. And it's basically a cooperative effort. Mr. Morse, let me share the screen, has enjoyed his private way to water for many years. He's working with the others to let them use a portion of this the property on the east side. I think that's the best way of putting it, but there is a little away here, and then there's a section of beach which was divided up. It's all land court registered land, so it's very carefully certificate of titles, and you can't get adverse possession on it and that sort of thing. So it's a kind of a complicated legal history, but it's a pretty simple solution, really. If you walk down there, there's concrete stairs. I don't know if the direct abutter has one. I think he does, or if it's not, it's the next one down. On the other side of these, where there'll be two, there's another 2 or 3 sets. They're very, they're not very obtrusive. They hug the rocks. You're looking at low profile. So Mr. Morse has enjoyed utilizing his path, which is shown here. But as he gets older, the rocks at the bottom are getting more treacherous to twist an ankle or to fall and create a real hassle for society and trying to do the medical care and everything. So to simplify things, he really would enjoy just to be able to solidify just the short run of stairs at the bottom of his property. And the obvious question comes up is, gee, why do you need 2 sets of stairs here? And there's a very good answer for that. Although I do apologize, it's a little tough to see on the plan, but there's a very dense privacy hedges. Everyone down here likes to have their privacy, and where multiple people do walk down the path, the privacy is very important to the Morses, and that has a history of a privet hedge, type hedge along that roadway has always been historically maintained, and there's simply no way to get to the 10-foot way. So he would have to leave his porch in the back and go all the way out to the road, go around the corner, and then down the path to use these other stairs. And we're in there, simple concrete inert type stairs that will simply go from his path down to the shore, very similar to all the abutters that have them. He strongly feels he would really appreciate it if you would give him his the safety of not having to roll over these larger rocks. And then just adjacent it, not to preempt it, but he's negotiated an easement and granted an easement and settled with Dugas and a few others that have rights. And I think they let more people than that even go down the path, but without making a big deal about it. But it's a nice little private path with some, again, somewhat treacherous stairs at the bottom. There's the site plan next door, and then I hate how that interferes with it, but there's the rocks at the bottom of that. So this is Morse over here. Here's the path. You can see how dense that shrubbery is there. There's simply no way to get through it without cutting down some, existing vegetation, wherein his own plan, is already cleared, and he's long-standing use of that in that area. So that's the reason for the 2. Again, if they were huge, massive stairways with cutting of vegetation, I think it would be one thing this commission would look very closely at. But here, you're simply crossing some rocks that are already there with some concrete steps. So does that answer basically the introduction that you were looking for, Mr. Abadil?
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, what I'm saying is that if we approve this if this application is approved or denied, that's an automatic decision on the next application. Is that correct?
I would say they would stand on their own, but it would certainly be, and I know every project does stand on its own, but a lot of the criteria you'd be looking at would be fairly similar for the both.
Okay.
I have to agree.
Yeah, I know we'd have to have 2 separate votes, the 2 separate applications. I just want to understand that the evidence and testimony and commissioner comments, et cetera, on this one also would be applying to the next one. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think if we approve this matter after a little bit of discussion, I think the next matter will go rather quickly.
Okay, and same thing if we reject it, Dan.
Fair enough. Although
Thank you.
we may have some longer conversations on both. We go
I'm
down.
just covering all bases, Dan, not prejudging.
Sure, and yeah, we don't want to prejudge anything for sure, but again, it's a you know, just to you know, again, I think we did a pretty good job of going through on the narrative, discussing the situation. You're crossing over an older revetment, which has been there since I believe the 50s ish, and it's just a little bit awkward to get across. And everybody else has these flush at grade steps. So as we get older, would love to be able to just have a little bit firmer footing and be able to cross that one little section. The bottom is above mean high water, so rites of passage are not a big factor. You know, people do love to walk up and down here, but you can see that the mean high is off the end of this, off the property, so shouldn't be a disturbance to anyone. Again, it's just hugs the ground, just infill a little bit of concrete, some similar to a couple of them. I think the town has a set of with the galvanized steel rail for support. And then there is a little section view of how it'll be. It's not quite, you like to do steps at 7-11, and that's a little bit steep for what's there. So we have a couple of flat sections and a couple of stair sections, and that could be field adjusted by a step here or there, but that's a general gist of how we would get from the existing grade down to the bottom. And again, we're not asking for a big raised walkway. We'll take our lumps with a little bit of a grass path that's here that's at a bit of a slope, but where the rocks are tricky, there are big crevices, there's seaweed in them, there's sand on them, they get slippery, you could easily fall, and I don't think it's good for society to be crating people off to the ambulance, to the hospital for no real reason when we could, you know, easily cure it with just a little bit of inert concrete nestled among those big granite rocks. So I would leave it there. We could certainly go into more specificity if you need, but I'd be glad to answer any questions. Again, the neighbors seem very supportive this time. There's no real animosity that I'm aware of towards it. It's very similar to what the neighbors on the other sides have. Peace in the valley. Be glad to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, are there any more comments, questions, concerns, or discussions with the commissioners before we open up to public comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, John.
Thank you, Angela. Dan, you talk about a lot of periphery and et cetera, and you tend to do this. But the question before the commission is the environmental impact of these stairs. And you don't talk much about that issue. And that's the critical issue. That's, to me, the basis for our decision.
100%. But again, you're talking above mean high water. So you'd be looking at a rock revetment that's existing, and you know, it's basically it is a coastal bank. So will it continue to hold back floodwaters and protect the buildings behind it and the infrastructure? Yes, because it's pretty much identical to the large rocks that are there. Are we displacing any habitat? Gee, you know, not really. I mean, there could be occasionally a little animal that hides in those rocks, but on either side of the stairway, there's numerous nooks and crannies for them. Is there sand transport in the area? No. You know, to the extent that there's a little bit that blows up onto these rocks, I think a little bit will blow up onto the stairs. And you know, the basic sand transport is unimpacted. We're above mean high water. We're in a velocity zone where waves will break over this. If we have to rebuild the stairs, we'll have to rebuild the stairs, but they tend to last a good number of years in the area. You know, most of the hurricanes come out of the south, not the north. You can get some good nor'easters once in a while, but you know, if we build them sturdy and fit them in, and I think it's going to blend right into the environment. You're not creating a massive change in the wind patterns. The birds will continue to slope soar across it. It's flush. Again, not great habitat because it's got rocks. And I would leave it at that it's replacing an inert substance with an inert substance, and very little impact, I think, overall on the environment.
Thank you, Dan.
Bill?
Yeah, I visited the site, and I visited it because it's like, wow, what are we doing? Putting two sets of stairs very close together. And I had a lovely meeting with the applicant, Mr. Body, nice gentleman, and he explained the situation. And interestingly enough, it seemed like every other house practically has these concrete stairs, and his is, and the little public way to the side of his house doesn't. And yet there are all of these stairs. And as I looked at it, and I thought from an environmental effect, as you say, John Abadili, that's what we're concerned about. And I thought, I just don't see that there's an impact there. At best, it's a like an aesthetic thing. And I will tell you that, I walked right where we're looking right now. I walked over those rocks, and yeah, you could twist an ankle pretty easily. And he wants to put the stairs in, and I thought, yeah, okay. And then the public is interested in having their own way, which is right adjacent. And I said, well, why can't you do that? And he says, well, I'd have to take my kayaks. I like to go kayaking. I have to go all the way around, off onto the street and then down. And I thought, yeah, I kind of get that. So I don't see this as an environmental effect, maybe a minor aesthetic effect, but yeah, I'm okay with it myself.
Thank you, Bill. Jeff, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you want to say something?
Yes, yeah, it was just, I was confused. I was not comprehending that these were concrete stairs. I was thinking these are wooden stairs, but these are concrete. Is that?
They're concrete. You can see there's two of them right there. And then you go on the other side of their house. Maybe the other side is like 4 or 5 houses in a row that have the things. And it's like, and Mr. Body goes, I'm the only one that doesn't have them. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, Bill, you have the wrong applicant. It's not Body, it's Morse.
No, he meant Morse, I think.
I meant Morse. Yeah, Mr. Yeah, right. Excuse me. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Morse. A fine gentleman.
The comments apply to both, Bill.
Yes, they were both gentlemen, yes.
Yeah, and in this direction here, you can see there's a number of them that are just the same, and see how inobtrusive they are, and they blend right in, and they're not very aesthetically displeasing. I would be hard pressed to think they would have a big environmental impact, being inert and low and matching the wall very closely.
And I did visit it also numerous times, actually. I live near there, and I agree with Bill. I would be the first one to object to the environmental impact. But John, I saw this as the access is what's going to make the other areas along the wall not impacted. So I was leaning towards this would be an okay thing for this project for both of them. So that's just my opinion.
Thanks for that.
Any other commissioners for comments or discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to the public comments.
Could I just ask that anyone making public comment, please state their name and address before they begin speaking?
And one more thing, Kim or Angela, is that you should note for the record all of the letters that we have received supporting this, et cetera. Just note that for the record, because those letters are part of the file. So there's certainly no need for everybody to repeat what's already in those letters.
Thank you, John.
So do you have a list of the letters, Kim or Ed, do we have a list by any chance? Kim, do you have a list?
I don't have a list, but I know Angela did acknowledge them at the beginning of the hearing.
Okay.
Before we went on, there was at least 7, and they were all in support, and they were for both. So they were, I just didn't write the names down at that point.
That's super. Thank you, Angela. I think that covers it. Great.
Thank you. How do we go about having public comment? Do I have to say their names and look? Because I'm not seeing everyone in the gallery.
Paul Revere is up first.
Thank you.
I'm here, and specifically, I do represent Mr. Dugas in this matter. You seem to be taking them both together because Not really. I do not represent Mr. Morris, but I'm in favor of his project. Mr. Dugas is in favor of it. So for Mr. Dugas's project, I add a couple other things that I think are much of the commissioners have seen. One, if you look at the plan, you'll see there's actually town land just to the north of here, and it helps particularly the easement area, helps emergency people access that area rather than through Millway Beach. But the thing that stood out to me once, and I've been up and down those stairs a few times, or I shouldn't say stairs, stones a few times. I was there one day with Mr. Dugas, and this wonderful woman came down, and she had a ruddy choice of language. And she said, I can't get to the beach. I have to just stop here, and I watch people on the beach and enjoy it. And when Joe said that he was trying to work to get stairs down there, she lives in the neighborhood that we call the Commons. She was like, that would be so wonderful, because she was, I think, early 80s or so, and I can't navigate the rocks. And I just think it's a nice little addition to the area. And I agree with Mr. Morris' project that all of these houses have them. You've seen from the pictures. And I think it's a good thing. Finally, I'd like to say hi to Commissioner Abudili and Commissioner Sampu. Haven't seen you in a while, but that means you're doing good things. You only see me when I disagree with what commissions are doing.
All it means, Kessler, is the town has not fired Sampu and Abadili yet.
Yeah, no.
Although they might want to someday.
Yeah, they might.
But, I can assure you that your conservation administrator has seen me in Yarmouth, and I'm around and too busy.
Good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if I could just add, Dan Ojala from Downcape, just because those people did take their time out of their busy days to write letters of support for both, it was Karen Cairns for 25 Sunset wrote a letter in support. Finn Leary of the area wrote a letter of support, which was much appreciated. And Corinne Thomas, warm regards, a nice letter of support for both projects. And finally, Naomi Mastico of the area thought that it would reduce the risk and well-considered solution that respects the environment while promoting secure, equitable access to the coastline. And then Robert Cairns as well, a nice letter in support. So we do appreciate that, and usually we get opposition, so it's refreshing to see some support. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Dan, and I apologize for not having the names to be read, but I did read them and they were all in support. Thank you very much.
Nice letters. Thank you.
Bill, did you have something to say? Your hands?
No. I didn't
just
put it
checking.
down. Yeah, no.
Next public comment.
Burns, Angela, is that?
Yeah, Robert Kearns, did you have anything additional?
Yes, through the chair, through the commission, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to comment. I think it's a reasonable thing. Morse family, has the opportunity to access the beach and not be risked by a late grandmother, Nancy Mastico, who had 25 Sunset Lane. She fell down the stairs probably 20 years ago, and she chipped a tooth. It's not stairs, the rocks. So I would hate that to happen to the Morse family. And I think, the access for the neighborhood through the right-of-way easement, I've been walking it over 25 years. And, I think it would be a great improvement for safety and access. So that'll pass things.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that's it for public comment.
Wow. All right, so I guess I'm going to make a motion to approve the project as presented.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
It is unanimous again.
Thank you, Bill. And we still need to vote on the Joseph Dugas proposal stairway.
You
at
need
zero-
to read that into the record, Angela, formally.
Thank you, John.
Barnstable is shown on Assessor's Map 301, parcel 023, SE3 6266. Dan, I don't think you need to speak again. And do the commissioners have anything else to say for this one? Or questions for Dan? Seeing none.
If I could just to throw out there, the same letters of support applied for this one as well, as we said before. And I think it's a well thought out plan, and this one benefits a number of the people in the community, and I would look for an affirmative positive vote if possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
May
Again,
I say something for the applicant?
Yeah.
Sure.
I would suggest that the board vote to adopt the record from the prior proceeding, and that way there's an administrative record that can be referred to if something ugly happened here.
I would concur with that.
Okay, I just need help wording that.
I think a special finding that the testimony and evidence submitted in the Morse NOI, the commission finds it to be applicable to the Dugas NOI.
Got it. Thank you.
So make that motion and then we vote on that.
So moved. So
Did I hear public comment for this already? I'm just double checking. Was there public comment for this one?
Yes, I'd like to speak on behalf of this record as well.
Okay.
This is Mr. Kearns.
Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I'd rather do this just for the record, through you, to the chair, to the members. I support this project for the access through the right-of-way easement. Like I've said previously for the Mr. Morse's hearing, I've been using that path for over 25 years, and it's a essential public, essential access for the neighborhood, for the beach and waterways. My father used to have a boat. We used to go take things for the boat, as well as kayaks, and taking that through there. So it's just a really great opportunity. It's not that big impact to resource area. It's a revetment. You talked about that, but I just want to say for the record that I support this. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? John, can I ask you to make the motion for us to vote on?
Yeah, I think the first vote we should take, we've already approved Morse, correct?
Correct.
So now the one before us is Dugas that you read into the record. I would make a motion that the commission make a special finding that the testimony and evidence submitted in the Morse NOI application, the commission finds to be applicable to the Dugas NOI application and adopts that record for this NOI filing.
So moved. Second. Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashulik. Do we have Jeffrey? Sampu.
Aye.
Cagney.
Aye.
And Jeffrey, you're not there?
Yeah, I'm here. Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous on the special finding.
And then
you,
motion,
Bill.
Angela, for the application.
So now do I have a motion to approve the project as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tagney.
Aye.
We had unanimous votes all afternoon.
I really appreciate your careful consideration. Thank you, folks, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Bill. All right, moving on, certificates of compliance. We have 3 certificates of compliance. David Bates, SE 34521, Thomas Carvalho, SE 35869, Benjamin and Linda Butcher, SE 35841. I make a motion to issue the certificates of compliance.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tagney.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right, we have one set of minutes, March 25th, 2025. So, Bill, I think you make the motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of March 25.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, Bill. Our next hearing is 6:30 PM on Tuesday, April 29th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Foster.
Aye.
And Abadili.
Aye.
And that is unanimous at 5:06 PM.
Thank you, everybody.
Good